My name's Demetrius Thomas. Originally from Belleville, Illinois, and St. Louis, Missouri, and I have roots from Mississippi, where I grew up as a child, and that's where most of my talents came from. Everything from being a musician, a music producer, artist, a graphic designer, cartoonist, and now I'm a cameraman. Pretty much, that's all my life's been, is entertainment and displaying my talents to entertain other people. I look at my cameras like my babies, my precious items. You know, I put my all into my camera work, and it's one of the first and best investments I've ever made was my cameras, and I feel like I'm chasing my dream with my cameras, and my cameras to me are everything to me.
Yeah.
And I look at them as my weapons sometimes, and then I look at them like my children other times. The night of the kettle, it impacted me because I didn't see any of it coming. I never pictured me being in that situation. And throughout the years, ever since the Mike Brown incident, I would always watch the news and hear about the protesters and hear about how the protesters was doing this to the police, or they were damaging property with the police. So I was kind of hesitant to go out to the protests because I didn't want my equipment to take a chance with it getting damaged or stolen. And so I kind of took a chance, and I felt like I had to be there. For some reason that night I got a phone call and I felt I had to be there. So I went out there and I had my friend with me. I gave her my second camera, and you know, never pictured that I would be the one in handcuffs or beat with a baton or maced. You know, I didn't picture it happening to nobody really. You know. So the night of the kettling, it impacted me in a major way because I didn't see it coming. And normally when I hear about the protesters, it's through the news media, and I never pictured myself being one in handcuffs, one getting beat, one getting maced, one getting pepper sprayed. I never thought that would be me in that situation, because I've always been hesitant to go out there because I didn't want to get mixed up with any troublemakers. I didn't want to get mixed with any of the bad crowd or any, and the media always painted the protesters to be doing something wrong. So my fear was getting my cameras damaged and getting my equipment possibly stolen. And that's how I make my income. So I never wanted to take a chance. But this specific night, I got a phone call and I felt like I had to be there. I absolutely had to be there. So I dropped everything that I had to do to go there, and it ended up taking a turn for the worse out of nowhere. I didn't see it coming at all because it was completely the opposite of what I pictured the protest to be because of how the media has always portrayed it. I didn't see people with picket signs. I didn't see people in the middle of the street. I didn't see any yelling and screaming. I may have seen a handful of people yelling and screaming, but it wasn't the scene that you think of when you hear of like the Ferguson protests or the St. Louis protests. So for it to end up the way that it ended up kind of damaged my whole outlook on trying to capture real life events like that, because it could always take a turn for the worse like that, and some I'll never forget. And it honestly has me scared to protest anything when it involves police, because it's like they make their own rules and they get to do what they want to do, and if they want to shame your whole image of what you were doing or what you stand for or why you were even there, they will. And I was strictly there to film it, to document it, because I felt like it's a part of history, and if I'm a camera guy, it's my personal duty to capture that for the world to see it. And that's all I was trying to do, to end up in a kettle and beat with batons and maced and pepper sprayed and locked up with no way of getting out. I want to speak out on this situation, and I'm pursuing a federal lawsuit because if every cameraman or journalist was to experience what I experienced and they went through that, no one would return to capture anything, and it'll always be one-sided, and you'll only hear and see one side of it instead of seeing what's really happening, real life events of it, because it was like a scene out of a war movie, how scary it was. You know, it was intimidating when they beating on their batons and hitting the streets and making their chants. It feels like you are a prisoner of war almost, like you have nowhere to go, nowhere to turn, and it's like you can't call the police to help you out because that's who's doing it to you. So if every journalist and if everyone who has a right to film was to go through that situation twice, they wouldn't return. They'll be terrified to return because no one wants to go to jail. No one wants to be on the ground. No one wants to be beat. And I have not been to a protest ever since, and I want to. I want to document it. I want to record it. I want to use it like a journal of what I went through in my day of age, and I'm scared to because I don't know how the night's going to end up. I've been a filmmaker for a couple of years, and when they pretty much picked me up off the ground and threw us on the ground, it damaged my cameras. It damaged my equipment, and my equipment is not cheap. And when it damaged my equipment, it started messing up my future video shoots and booking jobs for clients because I get aerial drone shots of different companies and different people, and my drone was out of order. I had a top-notch cinema camera. The camera still worked, but I had to do a bunch of rigging to make it work. That looked unprofessional at shoots to the point I was kind of hesitant to go after certain shoots with certain kind of clients. And my girlfriend at the time, she was always feeling like I was spending too much money on camera equipment. So right when the kettle stuff happened, I had to start back buying more camera equipment to make up for the broken equipment. We started having arguments about it, and those arguments got deeper and deeper and deeper to the point our 10-year relationship ended. I ended up going to a doctor and for depression, and I couldn't hardly sleep. So once me and my girl broke up, my finances went down after my equipment got damaged. So I couldn't keep up with my house in South County. And that led me to asking my mom if I could stay with my mom for a while until I could get another place. And it was just like a snowball effect of everything going on, and it's like it all wouldn't have happened if that start of that whole kettle situation never happened. If I was still able to just continue making money with my equipment that I already worked and had, none of that I see happening. And I also feel like I would have been able to document the protests properly and show the world what it's like to be there, what it's for, why are they protesting. I wanted to show every side of it. And I wasn't able to go back because I'm scared to go back. That everyone has the right to have an opinion, and everyone has a right to fight for what they believe in and to stand up for what they believe in. And just because you may not necessarily believe in something doesn't mean the other person doesn't have a right to stand up for what they want to stand up for. So when you hear about protesters, it's not that they're anti-police or that they're anti-cops or they don't follow authority. that's not the case. They're standing up for freedom for everybody, including police, including civilians. And when it seems that injustice is going on and there's nobody to speak up for it or stand up and fight for it, it feels we have to take it in our hands to fight for it. We have to let our voices be heard and go out there and bring its attention to the world, because the media most of the time doesn't portray what's really going on. And that's what people protest for. They protest for injustices. It's like most of them feel they're protesting just to be treated like a regular human being. And that's what it honestly feels like, because it's like, why do we have to get treated that way because this one bad apple did this? It doesn't reflect on everybody that's out there protesting. And when you hear protesters, don't picture violent, gang banging people, because the one time that I was out there protesting, there was people who work regular jobs, that have families, that go to work, that cares about life in general. They're not just out there doing nothing with their life, living unemployed or trying to go to war with police. That's not what we're protesting about. We're protesting that everyone, no matter what color, no matter what race, what ethnicity, anything, should get the same equal treatment around the board.
I want to make sure that I understand that you're saying, when you're saying we're protesting, that's in the future. But like whenever we use the edited cuts, I want to focus on the fact that he wasn't protesting that night.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Because he wasn't protesting that night.
Right.
And the sad thing about the kettle was majority of the ones arrested, that the main reason I was at the protest with 2 cameras was because I wanted to capture what the protesters was doing. So I went street by street by street, and I could not hardly find one protester. I may have found 4 people screaming throughout the whole entire night. And majority of everyone there was there filming or recording, wondering, why is there so many cops? Why is it so many cops in riot gear like they're about to go to war, and nobody's even causing the problem? And as I'm going street to street to street, it felt like we were getting led to a trap the whole time, because we constantly saw police marching, but we never saw protesters marching. Once this lawsuit is done in court, I would like to see something done to the officers that took it out of hand, went out of pocket, went over their duties to serve as a policeman, because their job is to protect and serve, not to purposely harm people, not to purposely try to make us look bad or make us look like criminals when no one's doing anything outside of recording them. And it's like they didn't want to be recorded or something. So I would like for the damages done to my equipment to be recovered. I would like for the police to face some kind of punishment, so they'll know that they'll think twice before they do someone else like that in the future if there's another protest. I just know it was a very scary night. I didn't see it coming at all. And I don't think no one saw it coming. Like, everyone had fear on their face. Everyone, the girls, kids, the old people, the young people, the white people, the black people, everybody had fear on their face. Every race was out there that night. There was not just one race out there. And if you wasn't a media person filming, you had a cell phone filming. If you didn't have a cell phone filming, you was just in the area wondering, standing around wondering what everyone is doing. Why are all the police out there? And it was a very scary night for everybody involved.